Hey guys, so today I want to talk to you about this new preview of a card we have coming out called Snapshot. Now, this is an EPT that just got spoiled today. It's pretty unique. We've never seen anything like this before. It's an EPT that's actually a secondary weapon, and it basically allows you to shoot using only 2 dice. You can't modify these dice, and you can shoot at somebody basically when they complete a maneuver in front of you. Now, it has a 2 on it. You can only roll 2 red dice. You're going to, I'm saying red dice. I've been playing Armada so much lately. But it's only range 1, so it definitely has a limitation there. And it also has a limitation of consuming an EPT slot, and also that you can't modify these dice. And a lot of people have been looking at this card and thinking, oh, it's terrible because it says you can't attack for the rest of the phase. The key word there is phase. You can attack that round. Phase is during activation, so you totally get to attack as normal during the combat phase, but this is triggering during the activation phase. So really cool card, and we're going to look at some options and things you can do with it.
All right, so we're going to look at some things that are going to complement this EPT and potentially make it work better while taking advantage of the ability to attack without requiring you to modify dice. So, a couple of things. You want people to end their movement in front of you at range 1. Now, this is a secondary weapon, so it only works at in your primary firing arc. So if you're thinking of putting this on the Millennium Falcon and thinking, oh, it's large base and range 1 donut, no, only works out the primary arc. Another thing to consider is you are going to be shooting them before they take their action. So they're going to have unmodified green dice. And this is the beginning of the turn. So unless they somehow get a focus or evade before they move or before they finish moving, like TIE Defenders with the X7 title can get that. But, this is before they take their action. So one option is fire control systems for anybody who's got the system slot, right? Because you are performing the attack. So even if you miss, you're still getting a target lock before the combat round starts. So that's awesome, right? Now this is kind of a no-brainer. So you're taking advantage of the fact that you're getting a free attack. So that's, and that's another thing. Another option is if you're running like Dash Rendar, like Super Dash, okay, with the Outrider title and your heavy laser cannon. Well, now suddenly your donut hole isn't necessarily as completely isn't a complete donut hole anymore. Somebody comes into you at range 1, you might actually get to shoot at them. Now, this isn't a great example. This is just a slight example. There's probably much better options than this. And by the way, there's a ton of options. Okay, so how can you maximize a 2 dice attack that you can't modify anything? Well, how about 10 numb? Right? 10 numb, if you roll a crit, it's not canceled, so it's guaranteed to go through. Now, granted, you're rolling 2 dice. You do have a slight chance of rolling a crit. You only got 1 crit side on each of them, so, but you have a chance of getting that. Plus you might roll 2 hits or whatever, and maybe they might go through anyway because it's an unmodified green dice defense roll. But 10 numb is an option. He's definitely, now he's pilot skill 8, though. So one thing to consider with a lot of these, like I wanted to do wedge right away because his attack ability lowers their he has a much better chance to hit anyway. But with wedge, he's pilot skill 9, so chances are he's going to move last, and this works much better on lower pilot skill because your opponent's planning their maneuver. They already know where you are, so they're obviously not going to move into range 1 of you and let you shoot at them for free. So you want, this works better with a lower pilot skill. They've set their maneuver already, you move, and now you have a better chance of surprising them, and they didn't know that they were going to be stuck moving there. This will also work against a Soontir Fel or anybody with boost or barrel roll. Before they can do their boost and barrel roll, you'll get them. So that's something to think about. Now, what we could do to 10 numb is, because he's got the system, we could give him fire control systems, or this is a great use for enhanced scopes. This could make him a pilot skill 0. He moves first, now he sets the trap, you fly in it. Now he still gets to shoot in the combat phase as an 8, but he only moves and activates as a 0. That could allow him to really spring this trap. So that's definitely an option. A-Wings are definitely an option because they can get 2 pilots, 2 EPTs if you go with certain A-Wing pilots. Or take Arvel Krind. Arvel Krind, now he would only be able to get the 1 EPT because he doesn't have one innately, but he could use it. Now he's a bumper and he can shoot. right? He can shoot twice and bump. That's just a really nice option, because if you have this, chances are some people might just try to bump you so that you couldn't shoot them. Well, he negates that. Another very similar thing is if you have a ship that you want to give it that has a crew, you can put Zeb on there and then negate that. So no, actually that won't work because that's only during the combat phase. So Zeb, never mind. Forget Zeb. If you're looking at Zeb, if you're thinking that was an option, that's probably not going to work because it's only during the combat phase. And this, so screw that. See, I make mistakes, but I own up to them. Aaron Kraken. So I'm doing all rebels first. Aaron Kraken's an option. He could potentially, now he can attack twice during a turn, handing out free actions. Now you'd have to fly everybody close together, but Aaron Kraken is a definite option here. He's only shooting 2 dice anyway, so you're doubling his dice. And that's one of the beauties of putting this on an A-Wing or a Z-95 or any 2 dice attack ship, is they're getting way more bang for their buck there. Okay. Oh, did we forget anybody that can take an astromech? R3A2, when you declare the target of your attack, if the defender is inside your firing arc, they're going to be, you may receive a stress token and cause them to receive a stress token. Oh my goodness. And, oh, by the way, you wouldn't even have to be a full-blown stress bot with this way, because if it happens before you activate, you could always do a green and then clear that same stress. So, yeah, but this is a really, really good card with that, because this is definitely twice per turn. Or potentially twice per turn. All right, so I think we've gone through... Oh, now, you can't modify your dice with Snapshot, but one thing you can do that's not a modification is add a die. So, as long as it's not adding a result, you can add the die that you're going to roll. So Jan, for example, if you're flying Jan with the Rebels, she could... she's expensive, so she's not always easy to fit in a lot of lists. I'm not saying that this is the meta and this is the way to go, but Jan is an option. You could have Jan in your list, and especially if it's a ship that you need to take out, and it's a Soontir Fel, and he doesn't have his double focus yet, or whatever. All right, Jan's going to trigger and give you that 3 dice attack, right away. Let's look at some Imperial options. So Turf Veneer, here's something thinking outside. After you perform an attack, see, I'm looking at all these pilot skills and these abilities that don't require modifying dice, but do trigger off of an attack. And there's a lot more than I just have here. But after you perform an attack, you may perform a free boost or barrel roll action. So maybe, he's a higher pilot skill. Maybe somebody happens to fly in his path and stops at range 1. He gets to shoot at them. Okay, then he gets to barrel roll or boost out of the way, potentially putting him in range of somebody else who moves. So he could, of course, now granted, you can only use Snapshot once per turn, but yeah, no, he could potentially set up a whole lot of really interesting stuff with this guy. And you don't have to, it's a May, so you get to choose whether or not you want to do it, and maybe you're doing like that that one hard turn, and the boost beforehand is going to set it up to be perfect. You've got plenty of options there. Here's a really, really, really nice one. Major Rhymer. Major Rhymer's is like sick because a secondary weapon. It is, even though it's an EPT, it's a secondary weapon, so you can increase it. So now you get to shoot at anybody that lands within range 1 or 2 of you. So now you have a much bigger frontal fan of Spider's Web, like the Spider Web of Death trap. Now, granted, and also it's another 2 attack ship, so you're doubling his attack there. And maybe you convert him into a TIE shuttle, and then you put Darth Vader on him. And now Darth Vader gets to trigger twice. Speaking of Darth Vader's boss, Emperor Palpatine, if he's on another ship, can actually modify that dice, because when it says you cannot modify the dice for Snapshot, the U is applying to the ship only. So you can have another ship modify the dice. So the Emperor, unless it's FAQ'd otherwise, as it stands right now, the Emperor should actually be able to modify Snapshot's dice. But that might not be the best use for it, but it's great to have options. Let's look at some scum options. I'll start with it may not be the best option, but it's cool. Bosk. He's large ships. He has a big frontal, a slightly larger frontal arc than a small ship. But when he performs attacks that hits before dealing damage, he can cancel a crit. So if he happens to roll a crit naturally, then it could end up doing 3 damage. Or so that's you got a higher potential damage output if you put it on Bosk, but you are still relying on naturally rolling it. But it's an option. And he's PS7, so he's still a little on the higher side. If you're going to run something like that, maybe you have Lazarazi in your list too, because while you can't modify the dice, you can make that attack more potent by lowering their defense dice. And then there's tons of stuff. You could do a Zuckuss crew on here, it's party bus style, and and then even if they do roll an evade, cause them to re-roll it, and just extra damage. It's very cool. Or if you're not playing Zuckuss crew, maybe you just fly Zuckuss. Again, anything that can let you add dice, right? Opportunist I was going to suggest, but that is another EPT, so you only could get that on an A-wing. But yeah, Zuckuss, you could add an extra die, and sure, they can't modify. They're not going to have a focus, so why not give them an extra defense die? Chance of it being nothing, right? So, yeah. And then Zuckuss just says when attacking. It doesn't say when attacking with your primary weapon. So Zuckuss, great option for that. I really like this one though, in Nadru. All right, so a lot of people fly him solo anyway, and if you don't want to put Lone Wolf on him, now you've got a whole different option. Now you've got a second attack, and he will get his one extra die as long as nobody's there. So you're still doubling his damage potential, and it's just crazy good. I mean, I love this guy. He's one of my favorite ships in the game. He's just a lot of fun, and he's so cheap too. So these are just some different things. Juke is another EPT. I didn't pull it out. Juke is another really good ability, especially you put that with an A-wing with the title, right? A-wings with Juke and Snapshot. And if they get to activate first, especially if you go with the lowest EPT, I think you go with a 3, a Green Squadron, forget about it, man. Oh. Anyway, so that's this is my mess of different, just some ideas of things that you can do with Snapshot. Also, I don't have Wave 9 yet. It's coming out this Thursday, but Fen Rao is another guy that would be awesome with this. I don't have his card to put out here into my pile yet, but I will in a few days. So, guys, thank you so much for watching. What other things do you think would be amazing combos with Snapshot? And how many packs of Heroes of the Resistance are you going to get? Don't worry though, if you want to outfit a whole swarm, you can also hold out for the Epsilon shuttle, or Upsilon shuttle that's supposed to have Snapshot in it also. But it's one of those cards you're probably going to want maybe 4 or 5 of, so it's going to be a very expensive card. But I would say don't go out and buy 4 Heroes of the Resistance boxes. You're never gonna fly 4 Millennium Falcons in a list, and you're just not gonna do it. So don't do that. Wait, unless you just got money to burn. I don't know. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, go ahead and hit subscribe for me. It means a lot to me. And give me a like and a comment and all of that good stuff. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.